Hey folks, it's Blammo. I'm your host, Jeremy Kirkland, and it is god-awful hot outside. Anyone else? Anyone else out there? If you are living in easy, breezy, beautiful, wherever it is that you're at, I salute you and I'm jealous because it is not that way here. It was a steamy, it was almost like 100-degree heat index. So what is that for Celsius? That's 37 degrees Celsius. That's hot. So whatever. But has anyone done it? Did you all get the beach bod? Has anyone achieved nirvana? I definitely did not. It's been an interesting summer so far anyway. I'm finally hitting that age, where I can't out-exercise my late-night snacks. But here we are. I'm doing my best. I am, however, I'm going to the pool, For me, I don't know if this is like a Midwest thing or a U.S. thing or a New York thing or whatever, but it does not feel like summer until I go to a pool. I got to get that chlorine in my eyes. Everyone smells like sunscreen. And I'm trying to get a fit off in my swim shorts. Look, I got a little spare tire right now, but give me time. I recognize the abs are made in the kitchen. I know. But hey, we're keeping the summer theme going strong today with Adam Brown, the founder of Orlebar Brown. First off, and yes, I did tell this to him when we chatted, OB is an expensive brand. And honestly, I remember hearing about them when they first came out, and I just kind of rolled my eyes, as I do at everything. But man, I have always truly, truly loved this brand. I mean, since I first really got to feel it, and I don't know, I'm a fan. They're just insanely good swim trunks, and all their other stuff's good. But we chatted about it. We got into it on the pod. Adam and I discussed how the brand was created organically, evolving past swimwear, holiday travel, retail, the perfect day, and what's next for the brand. All right, folks, here we go. Adam Brown of Orlebar Brown. Let's go. I really first interacted with the brand as a whole in 2013, where I got to physically touch it. Because I want to say for new fans or for even old fans of the brand, it was really jarring in a good and a surprising way to have this very, very premium, brand new swimwear brand, this sort of like loungewear brand. And I remember being like, oh my gosh, how are these guys going to survive with such an expensive product? It doesn't make any sense. And then we started selling it at the Armory, and I was shocked. It was so good. And it's really become more or less the only swimwear brand I ever wear now. And, it makes perfect sense. But, I'm curious, what were some of those first initial days like when people were like, wow, this product is so expensive?
Well, as nice to hear you say that. Thank you. The bit that so your friends are always often the most unsupportive people. So I think when I had the idea, so there was no huge planning to Orlebar Brown. Orlebar Brown happened organically. It happened sort of step by step. It happened in a slightly sort of piecemeal fashion. There was no document at the beginning, no strategy, international, other product categories, nothing. It was a pair of shorts which I'd drawn on a piece of paper whilst at my kitchen table following a particular holiday that I went on. And although there was a remit, the thing that gave me confidence was I did some sort of vague research, i.e. read shopping, but I went around and you could see that many brands had beach and holiday or swimwear as part of the collection. But in those days, other than a couple of sort of key competitors, Vilebrequin or whatever, there were very few brands that had started up with swim at their heart. They'd not started and then put this thing around a pair of swim shorts. So you looked at that and I thought, well, that was kind of interesting in a way, because I think the last thing anybody needs is just another rail of clothes. It's very difficult to break through and make noise in that world. Being an expert or being known or doing one thing really well is always seems much more productive than trying to drop a whole load of stuff on an unsuspecting public. So there was the being a hero one, but I think when I looked at the swimwear market, you could see there'd always been the sort of sport type swim. Having established that swim was had never been formed a focus for a brand, sort of thinking about how You had sport. You had people who used swim to pummel up and down a pool. You had swim as in surf. So you had board shorts. You had the long board shorts and people surfing. So you had that sort of thing. And then you had the more sort of Riviera styles, the baggy, the boxer short, the elasticated waist, the simple, the prints and things like that. And but there seemed to, if you think of that as a square, there seemed to be this piece missing, which was this tailored. There didn't seem to be that. I genuinely couldn't find it. And so the only thing that gave me confidence was one, that's just seeing that actually no brand's done tailored swimwear. So actually we can do something different. I think the worst thing is when people just come in and it's just a replica of other stuff that's out there or other stuff that's being done. And so that was that having a unique, I did feel that we had a unique product. I still think we got a unique product. I think we do it with better DNA quality, all those brand sort of bits. But I think also just seeing that nobody actually made holiday, swim, sunshine, travel, happiness hadn't really been the focus of a menswear brand before. So, and okay, that's not groundbreaking, but it did sort of give me think, okay, I've got space to breathe. I've got space to sort of think about stuff, think about what the brand could be, how people are wearing the product, where might they be going. And the other big, which was very obvious from the early days, is, when you talk to customers, with OB and with swim and holidays at your heart, it's a very easy thing to talk about. The whole sunshine, travel, happiness, being with family and friends, going to wonderful places, exploring the world. It was just a lovely thing that you could just talk about from the outset. It wasn't a hard sell, trying to encourage people as to how they can go to holiday better is our sort of purpose thing. But even very early on, just visually by a pool or by the sea in a wonderful landscape just gave you visual. It was easy to create visual content. It was easy to talk about stuff around the product other than just selling product. So there are all those things at the very beginning, thinking uniqueness of swim and menswear, tailored swimwear hadn't been done. Actually, it's all well making a product, but what are you talking to your customer about?
Right.
And it was just, okay, well, this is nice things we can talk about. This isn't going to be too difficult. We can bring color to this very easily. And make it appealing, even though we only had one pair of shorts, and for 3 years it was just one pair of shorts in full lengths. So we had the set of the Bulldog, the Dane, and there was one called Springer as well, which is the shortest one. But basically, they're all built on the same block. They had the side fasten, the same waistbands, so those just different lengths, and that was all we had for 3 years. And I think that was, well, I do a bit of mentoring now, and just talking to people who are starting out. That I didn't intentionally start out with one product. I didn't intentionally, with it being so small. I knew I wanted to be an expert in something or focus on something. But I think its focus and one product is very limited. It's very small. But I do think when I speak to people now, I think that was to our advantage. I think that was a necessary. Thank goodness we could only be one product.
I mean, absolutely, yeah, because that's a huge advantage now. So I've worked with other brands and gotten to do some stuff on the side. And a lot of times the advice that they get, so I'm just making this up now, a person makes a jacket and they want to sell their stuff in other stores or whatever, or maybe do direct. And all the advice they get is like, you really need to get you need to get a full collection. You need to do this. You need to, and it breaks my heart a bit because some of these people, and it sounded like this was a bit of your situation as well, is like, no. For me, the passion is this specific product and I can build a world around that. But like, if I don't perfect this and spend the time perfecting this, it's really not going to be able to stand on its own. And because I imagine the majority of your customers, I don't know this, are entering not at a shirt, but they're entering with your core products, which are the swimwear. And I think that is so rare nowadays for new brands because they're just forced to make a full collection, and it doesn't really always stand on its own.
You're absolutely right. There is always the pressure there to go big and to go big early. It just doesn't work like that unless you've got a huge budget. And then, I always get nervous when startups now come to me and they've got all this money to spend because it's so easy to burn through cash so quickly. Yeah. And I was so limited and I was so restrained by, I had £40,000 when I started OB, but our website was sort of £5,000, but it eats up very quickly once you sort of start
Yeah.
making a bit of product and putting it in a warehouse and buying some boxes and bags and all the rest of it. It gets eaten up. But the fact had that guide or that structure around me, which I couldn't break because I just didn't have the money, was actually the most useful thing that I had. The fact I didn't have the experience. I'd never worked in fashion before. I'd never worked in e-com. I'd never sold anything online. I'd never even made anything. So it was so good to have that rigidity and not be able to sort of spend money and not be able to, because of course everybody, of course I love making a t-shirt and I love making a polo shirt and I love bringing toweling in, but I couldn't, just having some pace to it and giving things time to breathe. And I think also just when I talked to the thing that's dawned on me is, we've done the swim shorts. We've been doing the swim shorts for 17 years. But we've barely reached anybody who could actually buy a pair of Orlebar brown swim shorts. And my challenge, I think I always ask is, I wonder why we're doing t-shirts and polos and all the rest of it, when actually if we could just focus on acquiring new customers who could buy a pair of Orlebar brown swim shorts, because we've barely scratched the surface. Less than 1% of people, in America or in the UK or in Europe, let alone the Far East and let alone South America and let alone any other countries, but just the countries we operate in, tiny amounts of people know the brand. So you actually think there's so much opportunity to grow just in swim shorts. But yeah, we've gone over the years, we've put this life and this DNA and these values and all this whole lifestyle around this pair of shorts. And the shorts are our constant reference. So whether we're in a product development, whether in a marketing, whether we're talking about in-store experience, whether we're talking about what's happening on social or digital marketing or whatever it is, your reference has to be the pair of shorts. And you come back and your whole DNA, and I didn't plan this at the beginning, but it's been interesting sort of unpicking this, how the DNA and the values for the business, the wider business, and everyone who works here and everyone who's in the stores and any product we produce, any of it all comes to that pair of shorts. Everything, your DNA, whether it's just on a simplistic level, the word tailored, whether it's about how we do things, having an order, having a process, and sort of getting things. There's not a rigidity, but a sort of structure around OB that I think, it kept us going. You look at your shorts and think what comes out of that and how does that affect the wider business, as the business as it grows, or the brand as it grows.
Do you think, at least for me and my experience of it, so, not projecting anything, Orlebar Brown was very much like a cool word of mouth brand.
Yeah.
People hadn't really heard of it. And for me, as kind of a snotty, elitist consumer, I'll just kind of, belittle myself here. I was very attracted to this kind of if you know brand. And nowadays, a new brand spends a absurd amount of money on a customer acquisition campaign, and you're just plastering, the internet and Instagram ads, and there's not so much the joy of learning about something that feels a little bit hidden. And I'm curious, like, how much of that was intentional or just like accidental due to budget?
Entirely accidental. Well, fortuitous.
Yeah.
Lucky.
Okay.
But intentional because of budget. We didn't have ways to spend, but very quickly, over a couple of years. And I remember seeing my first pair of OBs on a beach in Ibiza, and I was ecstatic, literally ecstatic.
Did you go up to him?
Yes, but he was in Ibiza, so he probably wasn't in the best state to talk to me. But anyway, he did chat. But over the years, as you go to these wonderful beachside places or poolside places, and you see people, I think there was not a badge of honor, but there was something about the side fastener that was recognizable. And there was something about that was, if people are looking for, this is real lingo stuff, but brand signifiers, although, we never had a stripe, we never had the color, we never had the logo or the icon, we were distinctly sort of unbranded, but actually we were very branded. Our shorts were very branded because the side fastener was our brand signifier.
Yeah. And the little clasp, like the actual snap button without having an elastic. Yeah. It's great.
Yeah. So that thing on the side of the shorts was instantly recognizable at a distance. And there was something about the fit of the shorts, the way they hung, they were different, that voluminous, baggy, drapey fabric, shapeless thing. So I think there was definitely, that we were that found secret. That
Uh-huh.
was on many occasions I've heard people say that, and that was it. Always gives you that nice warm fuzzy feeling because you think that there's a desire, element of desirability there.
Yeah.
And the thing, but the tightrope now is how do you maintain that? Clearly you've got all these other things as you grow, and clearly we're not the young kid on the block, and clearly we're not the new thing, the new hot thing on the block. But I think you've got to retaining excitement, retaining newness. I've tried to instill these words: act differently in all parts of the business and in our product development and how we do. If we keep on behaving as we did sort of 5, 6, 7 years ago, I think the customer's going to get very bored. So constantly within your brand DNA and the framework of all those things that the brand is, how can you act differently? How can you subtly sort of reinvent, keep the brand fresh, which obviously everyone's trying to do.
Sure.
But when you're so focused on one product, when 35% of your business is still one pair of swim shorts, which in one hand is amazing, and the other hand you think, okay, we've got to keep that. How do you keep that without wrecking all the hard work that you've done over the last sort of 17 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a unique sort of challenge that you have. And yeah. And, but I think something you do really well, and this, when I first experienced the brand, correct me if I'm wrong, the logo, the energy, for lack of a better term, was not what it is now. And how you have all put together the entire experience of the brand, especially digitally, right? And I think that's something that is just absolutely incredible, from just the strong type, the red lettering, and all the images. I mean, even, for listeners, as we're talking, but behind Adam is just some beautiful images for Orlebar Brown. But I think that aesthetic and vibe really reminds me of a luxury that doesn't exist, that I'm always aspiring to.
But the joy. Okay, so these images behind, so these walls in the offices are all historical imagery and pictures.
Right.
And I look at that. So that shoot you're looking at there, we'd go for a day and we'd find a location, and this is all not on a shoestring, but definitely we didn't have budgets. You go there, but because we had no huge range. We were just t-shirts, polos, and shorts. Then essentially you filled a day and you had fun. You created these images, and you could create. It wasn't about you had to. I've got to show the fold of that shirt. I've got to see the cuff. I've got to see the. You're not trying to sell product. All we're doing is actually somebody's splashing in water or underwater or coming up from the water or diving in or whatever. And if you do it in a certain way, in an not too sort of contrived way,
sure,
and give it a bit of heart and soul, then it just then it works. But in these images, now clearly we as you grow, there's a naivety to these pictures, and there's a lack of pressure in these pictures where you take a suitcase to some beach. And you just take
perfect
to have your head bed this guy. You just take pictures for a day, and you just think, God, what can we do next? Where can we go? Let's get the white ones out rather than the black ones, and let's go and do that. And let's go and do that. And there's a lovely sort of spontaneity and a freedom with that. But as we all know, as you get older, there's responsibility and stuff. So how do you? There's definitely, we've clearly got you now have a hierarchy in imagery that you create and all that sort of thing. But keeping moments where we can keep that life, laughter, fun, all those elements are so true to holidays. It's a big challenge, not a big challenge. It's a key part of how we communicate and how we talk to people. It's a very different relationship. If you're just selling people product, you will have a certain rather mechanical, cold, clinical relationship with your customer. If you're selling them something a little bit more emotional or a little bit more sensitive or a little bit something that just sort of puts a smile on your face, gives you a bit of a warm feeling, think, oh, I wish I was there rather than some rain-sodden city, then I'd rather, it's a different, and that's the reason you're getting to the website, rather than a discount or a price or a transactional relationship. Then you're off to it's a winning start.
Yeah. I'm curious how much since you've been sort of on this other side, running a brand, but also helping, curate, design, marketing, etc. How much has that informed how you shop and experience other brands now?
Well, first of all, just right, I haven't run this business for years. I'm very aware of what I'm good at and what I'm not good at, and I'm not good at anything sort of operational or numbers or process or lines and horizontal. So we've had a CEO for many years now who's far more able than me, and he runs all of that. So I do anything that sort of customer sees, touches, wears, reads. So creative directional founder type role. And so as to how I am affected, so I've always I love shopping. I like stuff. I like looking at the way things are made. I like touching stuff. I enjoy putting these things on. I have a curiosity. And so going around shops has never been a problem for me. But now going around and looking and see, I'm always in admiration at how gorgeous some things are and how horrible, unbelievable. I can't quite believe how horrible other things are. But my role with shop, I still go around the stores. I probably don't. I've always got OB in my mind if it's clothing, clearly. And I think it's always thinking, gosh, we might not be old enough now to try that particular type of product, luggage. There's so much we haven't done yet, whether it's sun care, skin care, whatever you want to wrap it up, luggage, accessories, shoes. We've only just started, hats. So I love, you go shopping and I'm sort of mapping that out for the next couple of years, thinking, what could we do? God, it would be so great if we could do this. But also another level, just it's really to hold a mirror up to OB, when we're to ourselves, constantly challenging ourselves, whether, since COVID, as we and what's happening in Ukraine, the price of cost of raw materials has gone up, moving stuff around has gone up. What are we able to do within our price point? How can we develop stuff? How can we make stuff? Where can we buy stuff? But it's a healthy challenge to the design team or to the marketing team or to whoever it is. So that's when I go shopping now and say, well, they're doing this and we're doing that and we're doing that. And it's just using it really as an awareness of what's happening in the wider world, which I imagine everyone's doing it for my role. But that's, I still love, it almost has a more museum-like quality now when I go around the stores. You're going, looking and admiring and thinking about what we could do when we're grown up.
Wait a second. I got to get my bids in on the Bezel app, but more on that in a minute. I get all sorts of emails and questions from you all, which I love to read and respond. And one thing I constantly get, and even read in the Blamo Slack, is what watch should I buy and where should I get it? It's a wild world out there with all sorts of websites and shops, but I go to Bezel. Bezel is the trusted marketplace for buying and selling your next luxury watch with expert in-house authentication on every purchase. First off, folks, it's getbezel.com. That's getbezel.com. But I use and recommend Bezel because it's the best of both worlds. You can go to the site and browse a marketplace of luxury watches, over 16,000 of them, by the way, which is a lot. And I know that Bezel is going to authenticate your purchase. Or you can create an account and get connected with your own private client advisor, called the concierge. Because look, making a watch purchase can be confusing, especially when you don't know all the reference numbers. When was this made? Did they use ceramic then? Is it a triple lop, dingle top? What the heck? I don't even know. But they do at Bezel, and they're here to help. Concierge, baby. Look, if looking for your watch to mark a special occasion, or maybe you're just doing research, right? They even have their own journal where you can learn all the ins and outs about Bezel and the brands and all the stuff that's happening right now. But back to my bids. Yes, Bezel now has auctions, and not just any auctions. They got Rolex, they got Cartier, they got Audemars Piguet, all the big dogs and more. So you can discover, bid, and know the Bezel team has got your back with verified in-house authentication. So visit getbezel.com on your smartphone or computer. Bezel, the trusted marketplace for buying or selling your next luxury watch. Yeah, I mean, I still love physical and retail shopping more than, any sort of digital experience. I admire it. I know there's an art to the digital experience, but, going and seeing and touching things in person and see, like just going to a Ralph Lauren boutique and seeing, from the furniture to the visuals and seeing how that stuff puts together, it definitely creates more of a joy and excitement to shopping than, a different JPEG.
that element of theatre.
Yeah.
And there's
good
nothing
word,
like
theater. Yeah,
it's theatre. You go in, and the element of being greeted by somebody in a certain way.
Yeah.
Whether it's the temperature, whether it's the colours, or whatever. When you go into that environment, that is theatre. And I think just trying to get that right is. I also love retail. I love love physical shopping, but there is there's a convenience thing and there's an opportunity thing with online, which, as we all know, it's a huge shop. You're not restricted by walls. You're not restricted by, you can talk about product in the way you want to talk about it. You can show it in imagery. There's all sorts of wonderful things. You can reach a huge audience very quick, hopefully reasonably quickly. I think the other bit everyone has been surprised about, and actually in a positive way, is seeing how people have gone back into stores after COVID. I think during COVID, we all sort of imagined that physical retail wasn't going to survive, and all our stores would close, and we would sort of be moving everything online. But what we found very quickly was that people are going back into stores. So, okay, maybe your planning and your targets and the things you're thinking what's going to happen on the web might not materialize as fast or as you thought, but it's balanced off by, wonderful, great stores. Physical retail is working and people are going into stores. And the opportunity, of course, you can build relationships with people online. And of course, you have wonderful CRM programs and email programs and talk to people. But there's absolutely nothing like sort of being in staring someone in the eye, looking at somebody being close and actually somebody handing you something and explaining something to you. There's nothing like that. I don't think.
I agree. Especially now, it feels like retail stores are turning into, this sounds like a very trite word, but like community centers. When I don't know if you've been to Aimé Leon d'Or in Soho, in the kind of the Nolita area. There's always a line to get in, and obviously not every single person that's going in there is buying. So, I mean, it's not like a conversion thing, but there's, I think Saturdays, New York was one of the earlier examples of a retail store that it felt like people just went to hang out, because they had a coffee shop, and then, people would go and work there. And I remember that was the first time, and this is like 2012, where I was like, okay, I'm walking into a retail store that sells clothes and surfboards, and people are sitting here working all day. Like, how have you, what, I guess, what's your take on that?
Do you not like that?
No, I love it. And I do think it's great that retail stores are now turning into these sort of places to just hang out. When I feel like in the past, especially as a person who worked retail as early, from the early 2000s, if you weren't shopping, in most cases, you were unfortunately kind of asked to leave. And now that people you just come and you hang out at a store is so great to me.
Yeah. Well, I wonder how many people actually do. I think, lucky at Aimé Leon d'Or, I think I'd kill for that. Love that scenario. But I think great. I think that's sort of fantastic. But I think for us, we've mooted around things like coffee bars or cocktail bars or whatever you want, Swedish shake thing. But it didn't feel right for us at the moment, in the places where we are. And I think the way that we are shopped, it didn't feel like that sort of lounging, so sit and hang out, get the laptop out type of experience. But I think I always enjoy them when I go into these brands and they've got some sort of club and coffee bar and other things happening in store. I just want to go back to the online. So the online bit for OB, I think it's been really interesting because I think the role between physical retail and online. So the joy of OB is our fit, the fit doesn't change. So the replenishment thing, the actual acquiring of customers in store, and of course we acquire them digitally, but once we acquire them in store, we see them go back on they can go online very easily.
And re-up, and
they have confidence because so many of our customers, they are long-term customers and they repeat by maybe in a different color or a different fabric weight or a different seasonal interpretation of that product. So much. We have these load of core styles. So it's our Terry Toweling polo shirt, our Sebastian polo shirts, our OBTs. They've been around for 10 years. They'll keep on being around, and the gifts that keep on giving. And so people just that seems to be the way. We acquire an awful lot of customers online as well. But if we acquire them in store, they can then. We're an easy brand to shop online afterwards once we've met them. Every season, everything doesn't change. There's a certain sort of, it repeats itself in a slightly variation, but that was also, going back to that one product, that hero thing, that consistency message, the thing we were talking about earlier, that's a huge advantage been a huge advantage for Pro Bean.
Yeah, I mean, I do think the fact that the sizing block doesn't
Yeah,
ever change is so imperative now for brands. There's a
yeah,
brand that I love that like I don't mind shouting out, Visvim,
yeah,
and I love Visvim.
yeah.
However, the sizing is chaos, and there's no way you can ever go and like, oh, 1 year I'm a size 3, 1 year I'm a size 4. And I remember doing some research and I found out from a few different people that the creative director, Hiroki Nakamura, always wanted to be, a size 3. And so he, depending on how his body changed, was what the size 3 was. And I was like, this is so asinine. It makes no sense because, as a consumer, and even though I'm a fan of the brand, I was getting turned off and I just didn't want to purchase it, because I'm like, well, damn it, I just bought a size 3 and I should have bought a size 5, or I should have bought a size, and it drove me nuts. And recently I just got a new pair of OBs, totally
Oh, God,
coincidentally.
was the sizing all right?
And the sizing was exact, and it was funny
Good.
because I
Right.
I made the mistake. I made the mistake and I was like, oh, I'm going to choose a different size because I bet their block changed. And
Right.
obviously this is before this conversation. I had no knowledge of this stuff. And so I got it and I was like, oh, I should have just ordered the size that I used to have because they didn't
Oh,
change
really?
the sizing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely can't comment on the Vism thing. I wouldn't go there, but I think
No, it's fine.
I think it's good to hear you say that, because all I do is because it's a tailored product,
Yeah.
we have to be fierce about that. We have to be absolutely bang on it, and there's
Yeah.
all these just keeping a consistency in that is absolutely sacred. If we don't get it right, we'll be in trouble.
Yeah, I think especially towards, from working in sort of luxury retail, most people, you really only get one opportunity for that individual to gauge their sizing, in your brand, because once they lock in, I remember seeing that. It's like, okay, this guy came in, he figured out his sizes, and then he called a week later and he was like, yeah, can I get 16 of those? And I want, 8 shipped to this house and 8 shipped to this house, and you're like, oh,
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
there
No,
you
they
go.
do. That's how they show. We had this week we had somebody buying 26 of one particular T-shirt, and we've
Sure.
had somebody going off who's actually doing a tour. He's a singer, and I think he bought about 18 of a particular one color, one size, and
Yep.
he's just going to plow through them.
Yeah, I think many people, especially brands, there's so many things now
But I
because
think that's a male thing as well. I think
yeah.
not to be horrible. I think well, we find a lot of our the secure there's they have an evolved sense of how they want to look. They
Mhm.
know what they enjoy, and I think they're maybe a huge generalization. It probably is, but I think a lot of men actually enjoy the security of that thing, feeling they're getting something new, and that might be in color, weight,
Yeah.
fabric, trim, whatever you want. But I think there is a secure, and you can reinvent things. Yeah, we've done hundreds of interpretations of our bulldog shorts, but they still
Mhm.
feel fresh. And I think we're probably approaching nearly 1,000 different iterations that we've done over the last 17 years.
Well, I think, yeah, that's the thing is like, whose idea was it for the artist series, in the sense that you hired artists to do designs?
On our 5th anniversary, we'd always we did the planes, and then very quickly we started doing some sort of geometric type prints.
Mhm.
And then that sort of got us through to our 5th anniversary. And for our 5th anniversary, I was trying to think, one of the questions I always get asked is, where does the Orlebar brand customer exist? Where do they go on holiday? It's surely blatantly obvious. And then I just sort of looked, I saw the Slim Aaron's pictures, and I thought, okay, well, we can just tell the story on the product.
Yeah.
We don't need to explain it. The imagery always does far better job of telling a story than, or not, or always, sometimes. And the Slim Aaron's pictures were very particularly evocative for that particular style of swim shorts. So at that moment, and I think so we took that and we did five of them, and we put them onto the shorts for our 5th anniversary, and we launched them, and they were a huge success. And the Hotel du Cap one is still in our content. It's one of our best sellers every week. And there's another one called Start Your Engines, and it must be 7 years. That was a later edition, but 7 years since I've been in our top 10 every week. It just keeps on going. And the Slim Aaron's, we call it Rockpool, but it's at the Hotel du Cap. And it's a wonderful picture, and it's true. It's really evocative. But I think so. That was the 5th anniversary. Then very quickly we started working with artists or graphic designers, and even a tattoo artist. We embroidered her tattoos onto shorts. So I don't know, you just sort of view it as a blank canvas, and how can we keeping it interesting?
Yeah. How difficult was that to kind of figure out the negotiation? Because surely the Slim Aarons estate had never had anyone approach them in the past about putting
Oh, I think they have.
photos on shorts.
I think
Really?
there's well, not on swim shorts, but on products, on
Oh
clothing.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
But
on
yeah,
clothing.
I'm always
But I think
curious
it's
about that.
yeah, no. Well, it's a meeting and a
Sure.
discussion and an agreement, and so you sort of sign a bit of paper and agree something. But I think there's an exclusivity thing, and we can't have those images on other
Sure.
brand. We need to sort of do that. But I don't know. It's just they really worked, and they were really fun, and they've stood the test of time. So I think the challenge is how you keep on. There's a very few. The thing I can't. The thing I find really tricky is when you get, whether it's a Google search, and you get a landscape, and you get somebody just some highly digitized, rather dull, but it's got a nice sunset, and people think,
Sure.
oh, that's a nice picture, and it's not a nice picture to put in a pair of shorts at all. It doesn't look nice in the slightest. But there's rather more, the Cimarron's ones are far more, that particular photograph is, it's evocative.
Yeah.
It's of a time, and it's lovely blue hue. The tones are all the blue and white, the amazing building, and it must be, it's a wonderful looking pool. Everything comes together. But it's when, I don't know, now I see an awful lot of these sort of highly digitized, rather sort of travel brochure type landscapes that are put on a pair of shorts, and the seams don't meet at the side, and you just think, oh, well, that was a missed opportunity, wasn't it?
Well, right. I mean, I think you're calling this attention to detail that I think is really, really important in menswear. And I mean, it's important in clothing, period. But like, there's a lot of brands that I do admire the sort of entrepreneurial mindset of when people like they have an idea for the brand, but in most cases they start selling the brand before they actually really manufactured it because they're able to sell and pre-sell more or less like photoshopped images. It's funny because I'll go to, whether it's an artist merch site and it'll be like, oh, buy this hat. And you can tell from the image, it's really just a logo that someone placed over like what appears to be a blank hat. And knowing that like that was how they're choosing to sell it or sell me on it, it always kind of turns me off for the brand.
So how often do you see that then? Do you see that, or you see that on brand websites?
Yes, I have. Yeah. I mean, I won't name names.
But but no, so I think that is a tool that is very useful in a wholesale environment. So if samples might
Yes.
be need to be amended. So if you're meeting
Sure.
a wholesale client and you need to sort of get an image, an impression of a particular, whatever the item is, over there, it's an incredibly useful thing to have that available. There's also, you might find, I know of a couple of brands who are working in that way now because they don't want to hold stock, but they have the ability to turn stock around, manufacturing the production of that item very quickly. So it tends to be in women's wear, and you can choose your color and choose your style, and then they'll make it up, because they don't want to hold the stock. And that's actually quite a good business model for, so it's quite a clever way of doing it. You don't have to buy it in. You buy it, if you can find the factory or make it fast enough to the decent quality, then it's a good way of doing it. So that might be that.
I salute that. However, and I get when people are like, no, we're trying not to over manufacture. We're trying to do this. And all of those are pure and noble. But I think sometimes those get leaned on
it's also a cash flow. It's also a cash flow thing. Because if you've got money loaded up in stock, it's not
where it's like,
so easy.
Just make a sample, and go ahead. And sure, the sample might cost you 2-3x, but at least the customer.
If they're not making samples, that seems very strange.
Yeah, it's
very
bizarre.
I think that, but for me, that's just, if you're trying to build a brand and you're trying to make beautiful stuff, you can't just drop a logo onto some old CAD and think that that's going to sell what it is. But I think with that thing of detail and that thing of quality, and it's one of the most overused words ever, is the concept of quality, and everyone's definition of quality is different. But for us, it just came from the short. There's 60 elements in the making of one pair of shorts. To get that tailored and get that made, you've got to make it properly, or else it all looks wrong. And very quickly, just the fact we gave a 5-year guarantee on the shorts from very early on. So if the color ran or the zip broke or side fastener came, there's got to be an element of trust. And if you don't have that quality element to the brand, I just don't believe you're going to be around in 5 years' time. It's fine
Yeah.
for now. You can't fool people. People are not suckers. They're not going to come in and they're not going to build that long-term friendship with somebody if they're not treating you very well, if they're not valuing you. So I think going back to this core the stuff I was talking, we're trying to make friends with our customers. We're trying to get them to trust us. We're trying to get them to come back to us in every time they go on holiday. And just like you and your best friends, you will only do that if they're giving you something that of value, whether
Yeah.
it's a conversation or advice or a good time.
Yeah. I think it too is something that I admire a lot about the brand is yes, there are things that feel seasonal and like collection based. I'm kind of air quoting those words. But the fact that, like we were saying, where the fit doesn't really change, the models are still the same, because I always, my heart breaks a little bit for some brands that are very designer focused in the sense that every season is something new, in which if you miss out on it on that season, you may not get it. And that means they're making new blocks, they're making new patterns, they're making all this stuff every season. And it becomes harder to try to, latch onto. And I do see brands kind of starting to maybe move a little bit towards where it's like, okay, look, we have these X different fits, and then we're going to do different fabrics every season or every collection. And it as a male, it's much easier to shop with that mindset.
Yeah, I think there's a difference there. That appeals to a particular type of shopper.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as a person who, in my role, I'm constantly that tension between, God, I want to just go out and design. We'd love to make, as a business, we'd love to go and make a huge, all singing, all dancing collection on a regular basis with loads of prints and loads of different, huge.
Mm-hmm.
But you've just got, in our world, and I do not define Orlebar brand as a fashion brand. We are a clothing brand. We're very aware of what's going on around the world, or in clothing and retail and stuff. But whether it's through print, or whether it's weights of fabrics, or whether it's silhouette or fit or collar sizes and all that, being aware. But so there's a healthy. In my world, there's obviously, as a creative, I would love us to be making huge, big collections. I think there's a tension with actually understanding who our customer is and knowing how they interact with the brand. How do they use all of our brand? And we've done we do regular surveys, probably too many surveys with our customers, but they're incredibly useful, and you get really useful anecdotes back. And you can see that we are very much a holiday partner. The times where they put the bag into the drawstring bag into the suitcase if you like they're going on holiday. So you don't really want to abuse that type of friendship with them by thinking, great, we can do ski wear, we can do all that. We'll do coats you can wear on a boat, and we'll do coats you can wear on a cliff top walk, and that type of holiday moment. But you've got to just keep within your parameters of how the customer understands you. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely. Who came up with the bag idea?
Oh, well, that was the first thing. That's been there since day one.
I know, but I'm saying that was such a unique, and great differential thing.
Yeah, no, it's a really good thing, and I love. Actually, that's one of those moments when you see people on the beach, they're holding that drawstring bag. You think, okay, that's the fun. They put their sun cream in their book and iPad. Actually, it's the perfect size for an iPad, a small iPad, which is very good.
I love it. And I think like those are all these little, again, from my sort of kind of elitist nitty gritty, whatever shopping people want to, put me in the bucket of, having that little bag. Also like scent. I don't know how important scent is to you.
What? In store or on
just
product? Or
the experience of a brand and the association of a scent with it.
Yeah, so we have a long list of stuff that we haven't done, and one of those things has to be scent or smell. What is the Orlebar brand smell? And that's something we've been around the houses a couple of times. I think there's, and it'll be interesting to see what that is. I don't have any answers I can give you, but I think there's, what the scent is. And smell, and I don't think it's a room. I think it's for body. I think it's for people. I think is going to be an interesting one to see where we end up. But it's on a very long list of things that we need to get cracking with, and we want to get working on over the next sort of 5 years or so.
Yeah. Are there any other brands outside of OB that you admire or you've enjoyed the experience of?
Yeah, I mean they're masses. It depends on what So as soon as you ask that, my heart goes cold because I'm sort of thinking, who am I going to say? Because there's so many, whether they're small, they're tiny sort of things, or whether it's I don't know, someone's just starting out on a street corner, or whether it is somebody, a big luxury brand. You go to them for different reasons. So I think your
Hmm.
expectation or the reward that you're looking for, or that sensory thing, is different. I'm really hesitant to say brands because I think that becomes the focus as to who it is.
I've always admired Aesop or Aesop or however anyone wants to pronounce it. But it's weird because each store always feels a little bit different, even though all their products are the same.
Yeah, it's impossible to answer that because I think there's so many reasons you might. But Aesop is one of those brands. Each of their stores is different.
Yeah.
They've been on and they've had to navigate that thing from being a smaller brand to having embedded with DNA and culture and values and all that sort of thing. And how do you navigate the expansion of that brand? How do you become a bigger brand in when you're so embedded? Have such a purity to you.
But for me, they're an example of a brand that, like, while I liked at the beginning, I don't feel that they're worth the cost of any other products anymore. And like as a person who's spent quite a bit of money on skincare and cosmetics, it's soured
But I
me.
think there are loads of others who there's now Brider, there's Labo, there's Grown Alchemist, who's I think is great. I love Grown Alchemist, in that sort of skincare world,
Hmm.
natural skincare world.
Yeah. That's all that stuff has been interesting to have. That being said, like, as a person who, the sort of the foundation and core principles of some of the Orlebar Brown stuff is about holiday and travel. How often do you go on holidays, and what do you think is the perfect amount of time to spend on a holiday?
Well, there's so I think it's difficult. It's weird you say that because I think I've been evaluating how my parents or
Oh,
how when I was a child, what their attitude was to when you'd go on holiday. And I remember when I was younger, there'd be this sort of thing. It was a bit lazy. Why weren't you at work? Why did you didn't need holiday? And I think in those days it'd be sort of a couple of weeks a year. And I know in America you only get less than us, but there's that thing. And, you're a bit of a shyster and a bit lazy if you kept on. Why would you want to go and sit on holiday? And now that's completely changed. I think there's this healthy attitude that actually holidays and time off work and time away and all those sort of things. The role of holidays has changed. The role of having time off, the role of having downtime is now so much more important and so much more accepted. So, when I was a child, we'd literally go for a rainy 2 weeks somewhere in southwest of England.
hmm.
I lived in the Far East, and for when I was a child, but when we came back, my grandmother would take me on these holidays, and it was always raining. And at that point, you go for 2 weeks, and you have to get back to work or back to school or whatever it was. But now, there's that thing that ongoing. You need to the role of holidays, and whether it's mental health, whether it's physical health, whether for me in this day and age of I personally don't love Brexit. I don't love walls, and I don't love all that sort of thing. I think the role of holidays about meeting other people, meeting new people, experiencing different cultures, listening to different music, eating different food. Holidays have become more important and more central because of all those other elements. For me, have become increasingly important. And
Yeah.
also, I didn't realize how significant holidays were in as much that, so my parents died they'd reached a great age. They died a few years ago, and I was sorting through stuff, and they actually really were. They weren't together when they died. They'd divorced many years before, but I had various albums, or I was going through the stuff, and the only memories I have of me and my parents together was on holiday. The only
Mm.
thing, the pictures we have of us together was on holiday, and for me, okay, then holidays have become that was a significant moment. So these things happen, which you look back on later in life, or you might meet somebody, or you might hear a point of view, or you might see some architecture, or listen to read a book, or because you've gone there, and that might change your whole course. All of our brand only came about because I went on holiday. That's the only reason. So for me, I see these pictures on of my parents, of us sitting on a beach with a bucket and spade, but that's on holiday. These things sort of are actually quite important in life. I think I see the role of everyone at LOB and all my friends, just you can see the joy they get from travel. You can see the joy they get from seeing a new place or meeting different people and doing something out of the ordinary. So when you ask that question, if I'd answered it about 10, 20 years ago, it would be a very different answer. I think the role of holidays has evolved so much. They've become far more important, far more accepted and central. Whereas at the beginning of my life, it was really, you was almost slightly embarrassed of going on holiday.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for saying that, because even now in my head, I've never taken a 2-week vacation ever in my life.
What, you only take 2 months for vacations?
No, I've maybe taken a week max.
Right.
And
so have you ever had a year? You've never had a year off or time in between, or when traveling or anything like that?
No.
I've never done that. I've never done that either. But I've traveled a lot, but I've never done that thing of going away for a year or going away for 6 months and sleeping, bumming around.
Yeah, I mean, I recognize it, and for some folks that's a luxury to do, and other folks it becomes a necessity. But like, coming up at the end of April, I'm going to Tokyo for 2 weeks, and that's going to be fun. But even then, and I'll, in full transparency, I am doing a bunch of work while I'm there, because I don't really know how to travel or do any sort of thing, especially as a person who's been self-employed for a long time, without working. Like, I feel like I have to be working, and also like I'm always, and maybe it's an American thing, I always feel like I'm being lazy or some sort of disservice when I truly try to disconnect, even to just have a day off, like just a regular day off. I don't really take days off.
That's something you need to address then.
Yeah,
I'm a real believer. I think there are two sides to that. I think it is wonderful. When you do travel and you go away, the fact you can do some work and you can get things done, so you don't have to be at home to work. If that works, is hugely significant and something we've learned recently. But the other bit of that is, the joy of not putting your phone on. And I haven't done it yet, but I'm trying to get to the point where literally every Saturday or Sunday, I don't even put my phone on at all. And I won't talk to anyone. I won't look at anything, and I'll go out and buy a newspaper or a magazine I'm trying to get to that point where I won't do that, because I went away recently and I've done a couple of these, I've gone somewhere and you have to turn your phone off and you don't speak to anyone. And of course, it's terrifying the first night. You're absolutely all over the shop, all over the place, trying to think what's going on. But nothing changes. Nothing, not really. When I'm being fortunate enough that I haven't, but it's fantastic. It's so good. It's so nice. I sleep so much better.
Do you really?
Yeah. And I'm a terrible sleeper. And if I haven't been looking at my phone all day, I will sleep better.
I'm working on that. I really am. Especially like I have 2 children. I have a 6-year-old and a almost 2-year-old. And, even now I recognize. So
why do you need to put your phone on if you've got your 6-year-old and your 2-year-old at home at weekends?
I think that's the $1 million question. I mean,
so why don't you this weekend just turn your phone off? Do it for a day. Just do it. See what happens.
I think that's a great idea.
Throw caution to the wind. See with a 2-year-old. You don't need
it. Would surely do them better. There's times where I'm on my phone just being an idiot, and it's like I knew it was bad when I was, I'll be very transparent here. I get up to use the restroom, and I realize that I can't go into the restroom unless I have my phone. This is in my own fucking house, right? And I'm in my house. I grab my phone.
You need to get that sorted.
I know.
That is so weird. I just can't. I can't bear it. I was on the tube yesterday. I was watching everybody. I was the only person who wasn't staring at my phone, and I think, God, it's so weird. Everyone. There's no I didn't interact with it. No, I'm going to interact with anybody there. But there's not that opportunity. Nobody's talking. You're all just everyone's in silence, staring at their phones. That's a weird world. That's a weird sort of zombie thing that I'm watching, because I'm making a concerted effort trying not to be on my phone. And not the whole, I'm on my phone 90% of my life. So don't think I'm not doing this brilliantly, but I'm definitely at a time I'm seeing if I go away, I will try and have days that I do not turn my phone on a regular basis. I try not to put my phone on at the weekends. I'll try and do something like that. And it's great. I love it. And nothing, I don't know. That's stupid. I love it afterwards. I wouldn't say I love it before.
Yeah,
I get nervous before.
I think that's first off, thank you for your candor, but like I think that is that's definitely helpful. I mean, that's stuff that I'm kind of aspiring to try to do.
Go on, do it this weekend.
I will
Give it a go. See what happens.
Do you ever keep a journal? I'm curious because it sounds like you've become, you're either now or always have been very introspective, especially from, founding the brand on a vacation. Do you ever write down your thoughts and then reevaluate them later? I'm curious about that.
No, I don't write things down, but I do. Yeah, I probably overthink things, and I probably think about stuff too much, and I worry a bit too much and stuff like that. I always try to process stuff and understand stuff that I probably don't understand, and that type of thing. But no, I don't keep a journal.
Yeah. Last question before we wrap. Describe to me your perfect day?
Depends where I am, and that's I'm not copying. I'm not trying to wriggle out of it. It really does. If I'm in, so I've now moved. I've sort of, I woke up during lockdown. I've changed my life, and I sold everything I own. So I did that whole thing where I sold my house. I sold every content, every can, every pan,
oh my God,
a can opener, every pan, everything I own. So I walked out with clothes and bits. So I changed. I moved up north, and I've moved very rural. So my point of that is, if I'm in the countryside, my perfect day, and I've moved in the middle of nowhere, I'm in the middle of absolute nowhere, and it's up in the north of England on a place called the North Yorkshire Moors, which is barren and bleak and wild and huge and big, lovely. But I absolutely, then that'll be a phone off day. That'll be out on these North Yorkshire moors with a dog and just going out. I regret to say I quite like cold water swimming, which I think is a real bit of a cliche now. So it's that type of thing. It's natural. It's outdoors, whatever. If I'm in London, it's totally different. Then I want to be in one of those rooms where you're shoulder to shoulder and you're trying to push past people and you're trying to sort of be in that. So there's nothing nicer than when I get off the train from being in the countryside to coming into London, and you're hit by, there's nobody where I am. And you literally hit that noise and smell and young people and clothes and fashion and vibrant. And it's like that. So the doors open and there's noise. And so if I'm in London, my perfect day, if I'm in London, it would be social, and it would be slightly noisy, and it would probably be tiring and just lively. And if I'm up north, it's totally trying to immerse myself into that type of rural. I probably won't see anybody at all, and it's just in bleak, open
polar extremes.
Landscape. Polar extreme. No, but it is, for me, that it is that extreme. So, and I was thinking about the other day, about holidays. And my holidays I want to go. I've never been to Antarctica. I've never been into a jungle. I've never had those extremes. So I think I'm a bit like that. The whole selling everything. I like that. I find the middle ground slightly tricky. I find it a bit dull. And, okay, it's safe, but I quite like that extremes and seeing what happens.
Yeah. Where are you getting dinner in London?
The place I've been going to for longest is the River Cafe, which is in Hammersmith. A pharmacy in Westbourne Grove, which is a vegan restaurant, which I love. Really, really great stuff. I will leave it at that.
Fair. Good. Well, Adam, thank you so much for chatting with me today.
You're welcome.
And congrats again on the brand.
Well, thank you for asking.
That's it. You've been listening to Blamo. Our show is produced by Blamo Media. We're edited by Amar Lowell, and our theme music, as always, by the mysterious Breakmaster Cylinder. If you like what you heard, you know the drill. Share the pod with a friend. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Give us 5 stars or thumbs up on whatever other thing you're listening to us on, whether it's Dingledorp or Bing Bong, whatever it's called. But you can also follow us on Instagram for all the hot content. If you want to talk to us and give us your hot take, we'd love to hear from you. You can send us an email at info@blamopod.com. Last but not least, super ultra important, if I had a air horn, I would press it right now. You got to come and join us over on Patreon, because the fun never stops over there. Look, the live show, the free show, whatever you want to call this, we take breaks here and there, but Patreon, it never stops. And we also got exclusive shows like Die Workwear, hosted by Derek Guy and Peter Zotolo, and the Triple J Show, hosted by yours truly with John Moy and Gene DeLeon. There's just a ton of stuff over there. So check it out at patreon.com/Blamo. If not, no worries. We got hundreds and hundreds of free episodes in the feed, and more to come. So we will see you all soon.